Okay. I think we're ready now. Okay. I think we're ready now. All right, so welcome if you're watching. What I'm doing now is I'm working on some Juniper automation. So I've been, for the past, I don't know how many years, I've been mostly doing automation with, let me move the camera down a little bit. Because I got my leaning back. Just tidy this up a bit. Yeah, so I've got my I've been doing mostly automation with Arista, and I've gotten really familiar with it. And over the couple of years, I've been teaching it. I wrote Arista's level 5 courseware. And now I'm playing with other automation types. I did ACI not too long ago. I think I did that last week. And this week I'm doing Juniper. So let's do a little bit of PowerPoint. And I'll just make a new presentation. Yeah, do that. And what I'm doing is I've got a very simple topology here. I'm running this in Container Lab. I have a Juniper switch, virtual switch as a spine, and I've got a EOS device as a leaf. So Arista leaf 1, and I've got Junos for leaf 2. And they're just plugged into very simple plug-in. Now, this topology is very small because the Juniper virtual switch is pretty large. It's a virtual machine. It's not a container. Now, I got a little spoiled with Arista and their containerized EOS, CEOS. It's a full data plane and control plane. You can ping. It passes traffic. There's a couple of things it doesn't do. Like it doesn't do like hardware profiles and some of the QoS stuff it doesn't do. But for the most part, it's got about like 90% coverage of features in terms of what a physical switch could do versus the virtual or containerized switch. And it's very lightweight. It only takes up about 1 gig of RAM, whereas the Junos switch is much more heavyweight because it's a virtual machine. Takes up a lot more RAM and takes up more CPU, a lot more CPU. I'll show you. So I've got it running here. I've got the 1 Arista leaf and then 2 Junos V-Junos switch. So that's what I'm using there. To mimic the EX switches, and sudo docker ps. Stats. So you can see that actually not using up as much RAM as I thought. It's like 4 gigs, but you can see here the EOS leaf is using up less than a gig, and the others are using up almost 4. And the CPU difference is pretty stark as well. So they're just eating up a lot more resources. So I can't make as big of a topology as I could with EOS. But that's okay. I just need to do some of the basics here. And I learned a couple of things. So I did some of the basic Ansible playbooks, and they seem to work okay, except I think I found a bug. And I've done this. I've actually found a couple of bugs with Ansible in terms of the network, modules. So back in 2021, EOS L3 interfaces was not deleting IPs from interfaces when you wanted to delete them, and then SSH keys were not being added to EOS user. And they fixed it pretty quickly. And then here's the newest one. So I'm going to work on this one a little bit. This bug is the Junos OSPF interfaces module doesn't render a configuration that corresponds to the interface type key. So every module that you run in Ansible is going to have some parameters it requires. And for this one, the parameter that I was trying to get to work was configuring an interface for OSPF. So gigabit 000 was going to be area ID. Oh, you know what? Maybe I figured it out. Let's try. Let's give this a try. So another drawback to using these virtualized to running a VM in Container Lab is that the VMs are not persistent. So the configuration goes away. So the configuration is saved for Leaf 1 because it's EOS, but for Leaf 2 and Spine 1 because they're Junos, those configs aren't persistent. And I think that's a common thing with VMs. To give you an idea what's going on here, let me let's do this. There's two types of objects in Container Lab. So first one, we've got the containers. And there's a couple of network operating systems that are containerized. Probably the most famous would be SR Linux. That's Nokia's distribution. Their NAS, or one of their NASs, I think they have two, SR Linux and SR OS. And then Arista containerized EOS, which is probably the best one out there. So we got containers, and then the other manufacturers, they mostly have VMs as their virtualized learning platforms. And they're more heavyweight, they take up more RAM. And let's take a look at Container Lab here. And if we go into kinds, it'll show us some of these like Juniper. There is a containerized something. I haven't really played with it, so I don't really know much about it. Doesn't have many details in here. But there's a virtual MX, virtual QFX, virtual SRX, virtual Junos router, virtual Junos switch. That's the one I use. Junos Evolve, that would be interesting because that's their Linux-based one, whereas Junos switch is FreeBSD-based. So most of this stuff has been historically FreeBSD-based since the 90s, since they started. But they ran into some limitations with what FreeBSD could do. So some of this stuff is switching over to Linux. I don't know if all of it is. And there's a bunch of these are actually just VMs instead of containers. So you can still use it with Container Lab, but what it's got to do is it creates a container. There's a project called VRNet. VRNet. I think that's what it's called. So I'd use VRNet Lab. So what you do is you go to Juniper Networks. They have a really nice way to download the stuff for free. So unlike Cisco, which you can't even download their virtual platforms for labbing if you don't have access to a account, which is annoying because then you have to find an image off of a truck. But you go to Juniper Networks, and then you find a vjunos switch. That's what I did. You drop it into a directory, and then it makes you a container that runs a virtual machine inside of it. So it's a little bit of, so you get a container. And it runs this Junos switch inside of it. And it lets you work with Container Lab. But like I said, there may be a way to make the config saves persistent, because if I shut down that VM and start back up again, the config's gone. Or if I shut down the topology rather and start it up again, the config's gone. But that's okay because Um, we're automators, and we're just going to automate this stuff. So let's automate. I'm going to just do what we call an underlay. I might try to build an EVPN fabric with mixed vendors. You're supposed to be able to do that. Interoperability is supposed to be there, but we don't know. At least I don't know. I would never run this in production, though. Not because I don't trust Junos or Arista, just because I don't want to mix vendors in this kind of environment. There's just too many problems that you can run into. But we're just doing this for funsies. And to do this underlay topology, every device needs a loopback. We'll just do loopback 0. So every device needs a loopback. Every device needs an IP address on their interfaces. So we'll do 192.168.103.0/31. I can't do a /31. It's got to be 30. So I was thinking BGP. I'm going to use OSPF as the underlay. So maybe that's a problem. Maybe that's why it's not coming up. We'll try. I filed a bug report yesterday, and I was up kind of late doing it. And so I thought today I'd run through the bug report just to see if I missed anything. And I might have missed something. So that's entirely possible. So let's do 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5, and 6. Counting. I'm doing subnetting in my head, which I hate. Like a lot of the automation, some of the automation platforms like Arista AVD, you just give it a big block of addresses and it will chop it up into /30s or /31s depending. For the loopback 0, we'll do 192.168.101. Let's do something a little more easy to tell the difference between the two. Let's do it this way. And we're just going to do a very simple OSPF configuration. I will do, I think the leaf is already set up, so let's go admin at leaf, EOS leaf 1. Just admin. Yeah, it's already set up, but I have to fix the subnetting. Interface E1, config mode, interface E1, IP address 192.168. What did I choose? So that's 103.2/30. So that was a mistake I made last night. I had BGP on the brain, and I always use /31s for BGP. So that would have caused some issues. I did get some routes, though. It kind of worked. I'm not sure exactly how. It kind of worked. Because I was getting routes. I don't know why. All right, let's try this out. And then interface loopback 0. I'm going to change that IP address to 10.255.255.1. All right, so I fixed those. Show run interface E1. Oh, yeah, no, show run. I'll change the router ID. So router OSPF 10, router ID 10.255.251. So you always want to set the router ID correctly. All right, and then because this is a container, EOS is a container, containerized EOS, CEOS. If I do a write, copy run start or write, it will be persistent when I destroy the topology and then recreate it again. It's just the Junos is not. Okay, so I'm gonna do this step by step. I'm going to make all of this. We're just going to do the layer 3 stuff first. Just configure the IP addresses. So it's 1/32, and then it's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slash, oh, sorry, 30, not 32. And then 10, 255, 252, 101/32. So this, as far as I know, works. So this will configure spine 1, and then I'll also configure leaf 2 and configure these, and leaf 2 is, oh crap, no, this is 1, 5, and leaf 2 is 6/30, and 10, 255, 255. Oh, this was wrong. This will be 2/32. So I just need to put some layer 3 IP addresses on there. If I go into admin at Junos leaf 2, one of the reasons I was doing this is I haven't touched Junos in like forever, like 10 years. So I completely forgot how all this stuff worked. And so we do have a management interface, but we don't have anything else configured with an IP address. So let's go ahead and we'll just run the playbook. I want to make sure that I'm got config. So this should just configure the IP addresses on these devices. Now I should be able to ping at least point to point. So exit. So playbook -I inventory for the specify the inventory file. So let's take a look at my inventory file. I have configured EOS to go in through the eAPI interface, and then Junos is going through netconf, because Junos doesn't have a vendor-specific API, and the CLI modules are limited to just turning on netconf. So the only thing you can use to connect to a Junos device is netconf, which is not my favorite way to connect in, but it's okay. So I've got my password, I've got the network OS, I've got the connection, netconf. And then Arista, I'm using eAPI, which is super fast. And then we'll do configure underlay. So this is going to go in. Ansible netconf does not support Ansible version 2.15.3. Not sure why I'm getting those. The Junos Ansible modules take a long time. And I'm not sure exactly why they take so long. Some of it is the commit part, but that should only take a couple of seconds of this. So it looks like spine 1 was configured. That's working on leaf. It's much, much faster with EOS. All right, so now they're both done. Let's see if my configuration... Okay, there it is. So I've got GE000. That's got 103.5. Let's try to ping 192.168.103.6. Try to ping 5. Okay, so I can ping the spine. I'm going to go to the spine. And then I'll try to ping 192.168.103.6. So that is leaf 2, which is a Junos device. And then I'll try to ping 2, which is the EOS device. I'm sorry, dot 2. So, all right, so I've got IP connectivity. So that's step 1. Now, step 2 is let's try to configure OSPF. And I'm configured for point-to-point with area 0. And the loopback is in there too. So this should announce the loopback interface into the other routing table. So they should be able to get that. So OSPF is running on the EOS device, but now let's get it configured for the Junos devices. So let's do this. No, I think I just need this. It's a little bit confusing because there's a Junos OSPF version 2 part and then a Junos OSPF interfaces. And I think this is the only one that's needed. It wasn't quite stated. I'm going to do this out. So this is point-to-point. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to set up Gigabit Ethernet 000 as a point-to-point OSPF interface. And the reason why it's point-to-point is when you have, and this is for like an EVPN VXLAN underlay, when you have two devices that are connected to each other, there's no point in trying to elect a DR or a BDR, designated router or BDR. So there's no election. It's just two routers on the segment. So it's a point-to-point segment. That's best practice. I got it to work without doing it, but I don't think there's any point in trying to set that up. So I'm going to also set it up for, try to do this for the spine as well. And I'll show you what I was running into. Now let's see if this will work, and maybe it will, and then I'll just look kind of silly here. Specify the inventory file, and then I think I don't need to because I have it. Yeah, so just Ansible playbook, configure underlay. Again, it takes forever. Yeah, I don't know if it's because it's container. I don't think so, because the interfaces, the CLI is responding quickly. It's using more resources. And part of it is confirm commit. So maybe it's doing a whole confirm commit thing, and that's why it's taking so long. Again, it's been a little while since I've used Junos. So while this is happening, I'm going to go grab some coffee. I'll be right back. Still going. Looks like it changed the spine, so maybe we've got some connections on the spine going. So do show OSPF neighbors. Do I have any neighbors? I do. Okay. So let's do show config. And the problem that I was seeing is that, so we've got IP addresses. And then, yeah, so they should have a type point-to-point. So I specify the interface type point-to-point, and it's not setting. So if I were to do it on the command line, so this is what it was on the command line. So I'm going to run this command. So config, and then commit, quit, So this is what takes a few seconds, but you know that it takes a few seconds, but it shouldn't take that long. So if I do show config, this is what should be happening, and it's not happening on the other interface. So trying to figure out why. I think it might be a bug. So I will. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try it again. And we can see that the second interface, 001, does not have the interface type. I specified the interface here. Let me just copy this in case I mistyped it. Yeah, so I typed it right. What if I do this? Maybe it's an indexing problem. So let's run that playbook again. It's going to take forever. Now, if this is a bug, then I've already filed a bug report. And I've done it twice before for the Arista modules, and they did fix them relatively quickly. I think it took like less than 2 weeks. But it also kind of shows me that these modules don't get used that often. If I'm running into this now, then this is probably not a very popular method of configuration, or maybe people just gave up. So yeah, totally forgot about the set commands. They take a little getting used to. And then this is the native configuration syntax, which is this. It's kind of like JSON, kind of like C, but it predated JSON, as far as I know. Someone tried to tell me it was Yang. It's not Yang. Okay, it's completed. So that wasn't it. It looks like it is a bug. As far as I can tell. Because I tried it with out the trailing 0. I tried it with the trailing 0, and it just didn't take. I fed it the parameter interface type, and it did not take that parameter and translate it into config. And we can actually check this out. We can render it, see what it would come up with if it just ran. Like, what's the... Because what I want to know is what was the output that it was going to give to the netconf. What was the interface it was going to give to netconf? And state rendered should do that. So let's go ahead and run this playbook again. And it's basically read only. Oh yeah, we got to register. I think I did rendered output. And then the next one was we'll just print. We'll do a task. Print rendered output. And then that'll be Ansible, built-in, debug, not DNF, debug. Message will be rendered. So what rendered means is don't actually make the change. Just tell me what you would do, what you would put into the netconf interface. We register the output of that, and now we're printing out that registered output. So let's run that, and it'll show us state rendered. Yeah, here it is. So this is what it's sending into its XML, it's sending what into netconf. And you can see we've got the interface name, but there's no parameter for the interface type being point to point. So that's where it's missing. So it's not rendering it. So I think pretty sure this is a bug. So I did create the bug report. I filed it. They have a specific way that they want. I think I provided enough information, but let's go through it. The Junos OSPF interfaces module doesn't render configuration that corresponds to the interface type key. I'm going to edit this. Call this parameter. So all the options that we have in here is going to be parameters. So let's do Ansible Junos OSPF interfaces. So this is the module documentation. So this is the parameter interface type. And we've got a couple options here. And a specified point to point, but it didn't take it. Maybe it's the default. I didn't think about that. Maybe that's why I didn't do it, because if you set P2P, it's the default. It's weird though that it would take it in the config. So let's do show IP OSPF or show OSPF neighbors. We do have a full-on peering there, and if I do show route, did I learn any routes? I did. So that's leaf 1. I did not learn leaf 2 though. Okay, so I think that's yeah. So if I do show, this is weird. So show SPF neighbors. I do have 2 full peers. But I'm only getting routes from the one where I have type point to point set. So show route. I only got one OSPF route. Well, that's a multicast route. Show config. So let's put point to point in here. Let's see if that will give us the route. So configure, set protocols, OSPF, area 0, interface GE1, 0, interface type point to point, rate or commit, quit. Jumping around between NASs is kind of wild. Show route. Don't think the other side is set. So let's go show config. Show config protocols. Yeah, that one's not set either. Oh, it's stuck in a knit mode. So this is weird about Junos. Like, oh, maybe because I set it as point to point on one side, and now it's on. Okay, I think that makes sense. Config mode, set protocol, OSPF, area 0, interface, and then interface type, point to point. Commit and quit. Then show OSPF neighbor. All right, and then show IP route. Show route. All right, so I've got I've got the route from I've got Leaf 1's route. I don't have the spine's route. So what's wrong with the spine? Oh, I didn't put loop back in there. Yeah. Config. So set protocols, OSPF, area 0. And then interface, it'll be loopback 0. What is the interface type? It's passive. Yeah, passive. Commit and quit. Commit it and quit it. Same thing. Config. Set protocol. OSPF. Area 0. Interface. Loopback 0. Passive. So that will put it into the that will announce it into the area. Commit and quit. So on Leaf 1 I should see 2/32s coming in through OSPF. Yep. And there they are. Okay. So the underlay's done. But that was all manual. And the module was not putting it in there. Yeah, I forgot to put this in for LO0. There's also Junos OSPF version 2, and I was able to configure using this module, but there was no option for interface type. So the only module that had interface type. So I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to use. I think I can do everything with, not L3 interfaces, rather, OSPF interfaces. So there's Junos OSPF version 2 and Junos OSPF interfaces. And interfaces is the only one that had a parameter of interface type. So OSPF version 2 did not, but I was able to configure most aspects of it using this. So there's at least a lot of overlap between those two modules. So I'm not sure which one I'm supposed to use, but interface is the only one that has that parameter, and that parameter is not being rendered into the RESTconf command. So that is a bug. I'm confident it's a bug. So it doesn't render a configuration that corresponds to the interface type parameter. Specifying interface type in the module doesn't affect the netconf configuration that is sent to the switch. Junos OSPF interfaces, specifically the interface type parameter. So what are my version? I'm using 2.15. My collection, it's using 2 different types, maybe. Community general. So another issue might be which version of netconf I'm using, because my inventory file specifies that I'm going to use Ansible netconf. So netconf goes in through SSH and spits out some XML in order to configure the device using, in this case, we're using ITF parameters here, netconf models. I think that's Yang. So, and I did Ansible, Galaxy, collections, list, grep, netconf, netcommon. Rednetcom. So I got 2 versions installed. What do I need to do to erase the old version? Removing collections. I think it's installed in a couple different places. Removing a collection. Oh, just delete it. Okay. Thought there might be a remove. Yeah, so Ansible, Galaxy collection. Locate net common. So there's my local installation. I think it's installed. I think it's in. I've got two different versions, and that may be an issue. So I'm going to try to narrow it down. Because if I'm going to report this as a bug, I'm going to try to make sure that it is a bug and I'm not just screwed up something in my own setup. Because then I just look like an idiot. So there's two. Looking for the global. Sometimes a collection might get installed globally. Which Python? What version of Python am I using? Try removing that. Let's see what I got. All right, now I removed. It's a little confusing. This may be where I should be using Python environments. I've tried to avoid Python environments for all my tutorials because it just adds another layer of complexity. So there's a newer version of netcommon, which is the driver it's using basically to connect to this. So let's try this again. So Ansible, configure underlay. That didn't look like it did anything. I'm getting all these warnings too. Let's try something here. Yeah, so it didn't render the additional parameter that we needed here. So I think the module just has a bug. So I'll save that. It has not been assigned to anyone yet. So let's see how long did it take this last one I did. So I created it on March 30th of 2021. This is when I was writing the lab guides for the first iteration of the Ansible automation, or the Arista automation course. So I wrote that. Got assigned on March 31st, so the next day. Someone said they have the same issue. And we figured out it was because of the change in the syntax. So Arista had a lawsuit, got sued by Cisco over syntax, and part of the settlement was Arista changed some of their syntax after a certain version. So what they did is they put in a patch to say what version of Ansible is this, or Arista is this, EOS, and then if it's one version, it does one command. If it's another version, it does another. So it took about 2 weeks to get that fixed. So that's pretty quick. So how are we going to, I want to be able to automate this. So I can't use this method. I could just spit out raw commands. Or I'm going to try, let's do a Jinja template because I love templates. And I'll just upload the new config. So what I'm going to do is I'll do it just like I do a template with, Cisco or EOS or Arista. Create a template directory. One more thing, I just want to double check the netcom, Ansible netcommon. What is the most recent version? No, 8 is the most recent version. I had 5.3 and 8. Okay. Just double checking to make sure I got all my ducks in a row, to make sure that I'm not submitting a bug report that's really user error, because that's embarrassing when that happens. All right. So do I have an inventory? Yeah, template. So in the template directory, I'm going to make junos underlay.j2. And I'll go into one of the Junos devices and show config. And I'll just take all of this. So Junos, like the other network operating systems, is a single configuration file device, which means all of the configuration comes from one place. All the configuration states in one place. So I'm gonna write a template here that is going to generate one dynamically. So this will be inventory host name. So any place that we have something, that would be unique to the device, we have to replace that with some sort of variable or some sort of logic. Inventory host name, we'll just give it the host name. I think that's what we want. It's not highlighting, so I might have forgotten something, because it does have the Jinja syntax highlighting, but it did not color code this. So it makes me think maybe I forgot something. So let me check that out. Nope, that's right. Inventory host name. Okay. And then we got to configure some interfaces. So I'm also going to create a group vars. So remember, group vars is a special directory. Already exists. Okay. All right, so we already got group vars. Yeah, there it is. Oh yeah, I was playing around. Created a group vars with 100 VLANs. That's the script I did to do it, but we'll add something else. So underlay. Then we have Junos spine 1 or devices. How did I do this? Yeah. Junos spine 1 and then Junos leaf 2. We're just going to generate the configs for these two devices. We'll leave the EOS configured manually because it does save. So this is just so I can render a config and push it to the device. We're going to do a complete device replacement. So this is what I do with EOS sometimes. What am I doing? Complete configuration replacement. This is one of the strategies that you can use for network automation. And I think it's called Junos config. So there's a file, and it looks like this. It looks like this. That's what it looks like. It looks like the template. And this is the file this is like startup config and running config. So what we're going to do is I'm going to render a new one, and then I'm going to replace it entirely. So our Ansible control node is going to take a template and a data model combined. So we got a template. And then the template has the spots that we need to put information into. The data model has the information, and then combined, they will form a new Junos config. And then I'll use Ansible to upload that Junos config into the switch. So we just need to create the template and figure out where we need to plug in the logic. So host name, we'll leave the rest there. This is all boilerplate stuff that's already configured when we get it. So interfaces is where we need to start our loop. So I'll just put a little thing here. Start loop. It's not color. What's going on here? With Jinja. Oh, I don't have a Jinja installed. So this one's got 5 stars, 130,000. There we go. Now it's color coded. Okay. Start loop. And then I'll put in here. Need to make sure that I do it after end loop. And then I'll need to do it here too. So that'll be I like that it does color coding for the different levels. So I know I can do end loop here. That's really handy. So I much prefer YAML's way of using indentation versus the braces. So these are called braces. Sometimes we call them curly braces, but you can just say braces. Brackets are these. Those are brackets. And then these are braces. Okay. So I need 2 loops here. I'm going to use same. I'm going to use the same data model I used before. So where's my group vars? Yeah, group vars. So this is what I used before for EOS. And it's the same information. So that's all I got to do there. And I'll leave that. I was going to do 255.1. The leaf, the point-to-point interface, there's only one. It's Gigi. I'm not sure why there's a 0. It's a Junos thing. A management IP address. Now, because it's in a container, the management address is actually a little bit different, I think. So FXP. It's this. Even though it's exposed differently, this is what needs to be in the config. That's not the IP address I go to, but it's like there's a NAT going on inside of the container. It's really a little convoluted. So that's the information for that. And then, so that is Junos leaf 1. And then for Junos leaf spine 1. So sorry, that's leaf 2, and this is spine 1. Point to point. And then there 2. So that's 1. Then loopbacks. I think I did 101 for there. I also did some global options. Area 0, point-to-point MTU. Yeah, loopback 0. We'll get rid of those for now because I don't need them. Now, do they both have the same spine 1 and leaf 2? Do they have the same 10.0.0.15? Let me check. They might have the same one because again it's natted inside. So that one's 10.0.0.15 for leaf 2, and then spine 1, it's 10.0.0.15. Yeah, so I don't actually have to provide the management interface. All right, so I've got all the information I need in my data model. So this is a very easy data model. It's much easier than making a Yang data model or using a Yang data model. And so my template just has to take that information and put in loops where it needs to. So services, we can leave this the same. It's the loop here. And I'm going to I'm going to copy, shoot. We're going to do 2 loops. Because we're going to Yeah. PDP loop. We have to work within the structure of whatever the native syntax is. Start P2P loop. Start LO loop. Because I don't know if the order matters in Junos. So we'll just try it this way. So it's a for loop to iterate. 90% of automation is looping, iterating through lists or dictionaries. For interface, so for iFace interface in devices, inventory, host name. I think it's P2P. Oh wait, yeah. So this is going to iterate through the dictionary, devices, and then the name, and then P2P. Then we are going to, this is interface, which will be this, it's a list. Ah, crap, I can't, I don't think Junos supports IP unnumbered for IPv4. So I've got to assign it IP addresses, and I hate doing that. Can I do Junos IPv4 unnumbered? Does it support it? Because I know it does for IPv6, but I don't want to do IPv6. I want to do IPv4. Maybe I can. Let's try it. So unnumbered address. So I could just say that this is going to be 192.168.103.1, but I'm really, really lazy, and I don't want to have to assign an IP address and subnet for every point-to-point interface, especially if I've got a big fabric. I just want to use IP unnumbered because it's OSPF. I don't care what the point-to-point interfaces are. So let's see if I can go into config mode here and then configure that. Show config, show exit, show config, display set. So this will show me the set commands that did all this. So config, and then I'm going to do delete. Delete interfaces 0 unit 0 family. Because what I'm thinking is the way you do it, and if anyone knows how to do this, please chime in. So I think you configure. So my, yeah, it's set interfaces, interface address, interface prefix. Okay. So once an interface, once an IP address. All right, so we set no IP address, and I think it's set under interfaces, loopback 0, unit 0, family, inet. I think if I'm reading this right, and I may not be. You set this, so the logical name, logical systems? Set logical systems. Logical system name. Was it unit 0? I don't know what a logical system name is, though. Your experience. Would you have time for 2 minutes? No. I hate all the vendors do that. It's not just Arista. What is a logical system name? Interface name. What we want is we want the physical interface to derive its IP address from the loopback. There's no freaking. There's no demonstration. There's no example. Oh, unnumbered address. Maybe that's it. Unnumbered address? Nope. Set unnumbered. Set interfaces. Unit 0. Family. Unnumbered. inet. Unnumbered address. Okay. Preferred source address, loopback 0. Or 255 101. Oh, maybe that did it. Okay. So this is me stumbling around in Junos. Commit and quit. Commit failed. Missing mandatory statement. Source. How do you show the pending changes? Show compare. Let's do this and I'll just delete this entirely. That looks like that worked. What do we have on there now? All right, there's nothing there right now. So let's go back into config mode. Back 0, loopback. Do I have a loopback 0? I do. Do I have an IP address on it? I do, LO0. Referred under family INET. Referred interface must have address configured under family INET. Thought I had one. I do. Loopback 0. I will Google this. Nope. Looking for Junos unnumbered set. LO00. Okay, let's try that. What's with these trailing zeros? I don't know what they are. Show config. There we go. Easy peasy. That's way better. Let me do that again for the other one. For the other interface, and then I'll do it on the leaf. Delete interfaces. Unit 0. I don't know what the unit 0 stuff is. Delete that, and then we'll do set interfaces. Unit 0, family, INET, unnumbered address, LO0. Commit. Commit and quit. And then I'll do the same thing over here. Show run interface E1. And then config mode interface E1. No IP address. IP address unnumbered loopback 0. There we are. Stuck in a knit. Oh, I'm gonna. Huh? Address cannot be defined with unnumbered address or location pool address simultaneously. Oh, I gotta have, yeah, delete the address. Yeah, that's what it was. All right. So now I'm unnumbered. That fixed my problem over here. Nope, still. What about on here? So that's the spine. This is the leaf. We're able to negotiate, and then with the neighbor there, show route. We did learn. Yeah, maybe I might need to clean off. Clear IP OSPF neighbors, all of them. It's not sending anything over the wire. Did I point to point? It's on the spine. That's correct. Because 0 goes to leaf 1. 1 goes to leaf 2. I'll figure that out later. All right, so now I can just do the that, and I just need the example of what it looks like when I do unnumbered. So this is what it looks like. So let's do this. I'm just gonna paste this in. So this would be interface. Unit 0 family simple. And this would be global values. Global options. And OSPF area. No, P2P loopback. In this case, shoot. Let's do that. Okay. And we just do that as a loop. All right, so let's run this as a template. Create a playbook directory. Got really sloppy here. That's not the best. So play, but not under group vars. We'll do it for Junos spine 1. We'll just do it for 1 now, and then tasks. Run template. Template. Source is template. Junos underlay J2 destination. You create a configs directory. We'll do this the right way. Is it template or template? Rename this to templates. Templates. Then it really wants us to set a mode, so we'll do 0.6. These are Unix permissions or Linux permissions. Didn't close a quote. All right, so we created a template. Let's see what we got. Let's get rid of this. Close all. Under configs. Ooh, that's unnumbered address. Some of that worked. Not all of it, but some of it worked. So I need to look at my time here. Oh, Wilson, I just saw what you typed in there. Thank you for that help if you're still on. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the chat room. Yeah, last time I used Junos was like 10 years ago, and I never really used it a lot. So I'm just stumbling around. So unnumbered address. So I have to figure out why this did not render right. So there's a P2P LO. So it only did the first letter, unnumbered address, unnumbered address, global options, P2P LO. Oh, that's the first item in the array. It should be like this. Okay. That's why it was the L. It only did the first letter. So let's see if that worked. Yeah, there we go. All right, so that worked. What else do I need to do? I need to start the loopback 0. For loopback in Yep, it was the array. P2P in my data model here, it is loopbacks, and it's just a dictionary. So this is always the question when you make your own data model, do you put the subnet mask in or not? For loopbacks, I think we're just going to hard code in /32. I think that's a safe thing to do. Usually I try not to hard code too much stuff. Is it loopbacks or loopback? Loopbacks. And then the key and the value. That's pretty easy. So it's pretty easy there. And it's LO and not loopback 0. So here it would be LO and LO. Because we're deriving the name from this. I could put in something that says, what do we call the loopbacks? I don't know. Would loopback 0... in my config, it was loopback 0. I think it was loopback 0. Showed up in the actual config as loopback 0. So that's the name there. But in the routing instance, it's loopback 0.0. And I don't know why that's... Wilson, do you know why why do they do it that way? I don't know what that extra .0 is for. So it should be LO0 by itself. At least that's what's in the config. And I'm replacing the config. All right, so we'll do that. Back. What's the address going to be? Oh, yeah. So this will be... Yeah, okay. So this will be do. Then end loop. That looks good. But these got rendered. I don't know why those got rendered. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Run it one more time. Make sure. No, still got in there. Why did they... Oh, that's why. Okay, routing instances, that's fine. And then here, when we got to loop through this. So area is going to be the global parameter. So this is simple search and replace. And that is OSPF area. Now the question is, will it let me go away with just doing area 0 in the config, or will it require the notation 0.0.0.0? So we got to do 2 loops here. We got to loop through loop P2P. And then we got to loop the loopbacks. We just need the name, fortunately. And then end loop. So this would be for P2P, or for interface in that dictionary. It's got to be .0 for, again, I don't know why. And that should be it there. And then loop back here, that'd be for interface, for loopback, and we just need the name, so we don't need the value. Loop back. Passive N4. Okay, that should be enough. Let's try that. Loopback is undefined. I have the worst time spelling loopback. Oh, loopback and loopback. There we go. Ugh, that is ugly. What is it supposed to look like? Oh yeah, it's supposed to put an interface type P2P. It's indented too much. Way too much. Whoa, that is way too much. So I think it's just indentation. So I think I can fix that pretty easily. That's better. I think that would work. I think that would work as a config. Let's deploy this sucker. So unit is, yeah. So I mean, there's like unit 0, and then does that correspond to what this 0 is right here? Is that how they correspond? It might be, maybe that's from its like service provider roots, like a service provider thing. I don't know. I'm trying to think of why they would do it that way. And well, there's like, because the bread and butter was like MPLS and service provider stuff for a while, right? It still is. Yeah, I only started messing with MPLS a couple of years ago. All right, let's see if we can figure out how to deploy this. Ansible, Junos, config module. XML text. Source. Now, does it want text? Source format. All right. Let's try this. Yeah, I don't know if text is this, because this isn't JSON. It's not XML. It's not set. I don't have to do this via set. I mean, I guess I could do it by a set, but I'd rather do the native. This is the native. So I'm going to create a playbook called deploy config YAML. To lock myself out. Cool. Didn't complete. It's the same config, so I think I just did the same config, or unless it's an idempotency problem. Let's see if I can still log into the device. I still logged in. Still logged in. Let's see if I can log in again. Yeah. Let's try this. I'm going to change the loopback address just to make sure that the config is actually reflecting what's on there. So I want to set the loopback address to, let's see, I'm going to set it to 201. So in my data model, I'll set it to 201 and I'll rebuild. And I'll deploy. There's probably some cool confirm commit stuff that I could do with this too. So in case like I get locked out, it does something. All right, it changed. Cool. Let's see if it reflected the change. Show interfaces. Show config. Let's see that. Ah, oh, son of a nuts. Is there a way to replace? Because I want to replace the entire thing. Override. Update override. Because I want the source of truth to be this config file, not whatever existing on the device itself. Then we'll check to see if it tears down any of the OSPF sessions when I do it that way. All right, that completed. That's better. Okay, cool. All right, so now I've got a way to generate configs. I can even, I can get really fancy and build an engine that will use one template for EOS and a different template for Junos. Now let's see if we have OSPF running. Neighbors. I do with leaf 2. I don't with still in a net. Net. I didn't set the MTU. Now Junos does a different MTU default. But I wonder if they take into account the headers. So like show interface. So this is the interface connected to the EOS switch. And the MTU is 1514. But I think it's adding the 14 bytes automatically, so it's really MTU of 1500, I think. Yeah, protocol on at 1500. I had it working before, so I've got it configured. So this is the first interface. And when I used IP numbered, I did get it configured. It worked. Unit 0, family INET. So there's 31. Oh, shoot. Wrong subnet mask. I've got I have OSPF on the or BGP on the brain. 30. So it works if I set an IP address, but it doesn't work IP unnumbered between Junos and EOS. Why is that? That'd be really annoying if they just didn't work. Wonder if you can pass exchange start. restarted because the interface changed. Yeah, it's not coming up. Wonder why. So point-to-point interface, IP unnumbered. Yeah, I don't know. All right, I think that'll be enough for today. I've got I got to go for my walk. All right, thank you for watching, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and stop the stream. I'll figure this out another time. But I got as far as I got where I wanted to go, which was building a configuration, a native configuration for Junos, and then I've filed the bug on the module here. So we'll see what happens. Thank you, Wilson, for your help.